President Emir Shibajo led National Steering Committee on National Poverty Reduction with Growth Strategy holds maiden meeting. Airlines to refund passengers for delayed flights, say Aviation Minister Hadi Sirika. Customs exceed target, raising more than 1 trillion naira in first half of the year. This is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja. I am Musa Abubakar. Now, Aviation Minister Hadi Sirika says there is much improvement in the sector since the coming in of the President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration, with many of the country's airports now operating according to the dictate of the International Civil Aviation Organization's rules. The minister at the weekly executive briefing of the press at the presidential villa Abuja says there is now approval for the civil aviation security personnel to bear arms, including the need to compensate passengers for delays at the airport by national and international carriers.
Been doing all of the energy that President Muhammadu Buhari has been pushing into civil aviation, and the money is actually to attend to those things that will make you safe, secure when you depart point A and arrive point B. I am putting this forward so that we understand where we're coming from, and the achievements and the things that we've done are all around this focus.
Now, the Nigerian Customs Service has generated more than 1 trillion naira in the first 6 months of the year, 290 billion naira higher than what was generated within the same period in 2020. Koliade reports that the service said this feat is as a result of resolve, pursuit of what is right, and willingness to adapt to changes brought about by global health challenges occasioned by COVID-19.
A positive difference of 290 billion, 204 million, 555,900 naira.
Now, supplementary budget. The House of Assembly representative has passed the 2021 supplementary budget of 982.7 billion naira. The approved amount is 86 billion naira more than what was forwarded by the executive for consideration. We recall that on Tuesday, June 29th, House Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila read the communication from the executive in which it requested the approval of 895.8 billion naira supplementary budget to be expended on procurements for the armed forces and COVID-19, in addition to making available funds for adjustment of wages in the public service.
And FSP. This is to allow the National Assembly sufficient time to perform its important statutory duty of reviewing the framework and strategy paper.
The House during the plenary Thursday also passed the 2021 budget of the Federal Capital Territory, estimated at 329.9 billion naira. Now, there's something about planning for the future that doesn't sit well with a good number of Nigerians. So really, a lot do not want to bother with what happens after they're gone. But then one will ask, which is better, living a lot of chaos when you are gone, or settling it while still around? Wills and Trust is our focus on the program today. And now I have with me Dr. Akin Olawole Oluwadaisi, a public speaker and a legal practitioner. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you, sir. It's
Okay, let's begin with wills. What is a will and what is a trust?
Okay. A will is a testamentary document that is prepared by a testator for purposes of distributing his properties to beneficiaries.
Okay.
We also call it an ambulatory document that is subject to change so far the testator is alive. Trust, on the other hand, is also a legal relationship that can be expressed or implied, where someone makes preparation. His name is called settlor in law, and prepares a document for another to take care of his property, manage on his behalf, so that a beneficiary can benefit from that legal relationship.
Okay, which one is paramount when planning for the future?
I would say it depends on the stage at which a person is. It depends on what assets someone has, and then it also will depend on the priority that individual places on. For example, someone that is up to 40 years may start thinking about preparing a will for the beneficiary. Perhaps he already got some children, wives married already, so he wants to think about will. We can also have someone that is very young, at the age of probably 18 or 20, and has properties, has properties, is already a billionaire. He may want to prepare a trust, for example, to take care of some of his properties for the beneficiaries. So it depends actually on individual. Both they are very important in everybody's life. Yes.
Okay, that's one have to be a billionaire or millionaire to.
You don't have to. You don't have to. So, but of course, it has to do with assets, asset management, and then distribution. So, if you don't have anything, what will you want to give to a beneficiary, or what will you want to give someone to manage?
Okay. I mean, why is it important to settle this issue early? By the way.
It's important because in this part of the world, in Africa and in Nigeria, we see that we get ourselves stressed out because of so many things that we manage when we can actually ask someone else to take care of it for us. And also, it has to do with will. We need to settle it in life because death is a certainty that has no respect for age. Young people can die, old people can die. So as early as possible, that once has acquired one or two properties, it's good to make preparation for the beneficiaries of tomorrow when one is no more. So it's not necessarily until when one is 50, 60, 70, because you never can tell when the day will be calling for one to, depart. So.
Okay, but why is it not common in our society? It seems like, it's just among few couple of people that have, as you said, billionaires and millionaires. Why is it not common?
Yes, for we, most times it's not common because of the traditional mentality that when you're making a will, you are actually hoping that death will be knocking the next day. So some see wills making as passing of death sentence, which is not so. So a lot of us in Africa, in Nigeria, we shy away from making wills. But in the other part of the world, we see that people make their will as early as possible. So we have to do away with that mentality. One can make a will and 40 years after you are still here. So it's just to take care of eventualities. And when it comes to trust and trust relationship, I can say ignorance is one of the reason for why people are not even aware or don't even do it. Ignorance, and it's killing people because a lot of people are dying on daily basis as a result of stress of managing even their properties, stress of this business, of that business, and stress of even other people's care that they can put in charge of certain trustees that can take care of that, for them. So if enlightenment like of this nature is done on a regular basis, people will see the need to create trust relationship, do trust deed, and then get themselves off a lot of burden of managing this asset, managing that asset, taking care of this beneficiary, and so on and so forth.
Okay, there are situations whereby you see when someone dies, his next of kin come in to claim, Does the law provide for such, situation?
The provisions of the Administration of Estate Law and the Administration of Estate Act actually takes care of certain protocols and persons who are entitled by law to claim. Like I also said, in this part of the world, sometimes when we misunderstand a concept, we tend to abuse it. Next of kin is just something that is necessary, but does not really mean that a next of kin should be entitled or is entitled to one's property after death. By law, looking at the administration of estate law and act, when a man who is married dies, the law says his existing spouse should take over. So whether or not there is next of kin who is not even a member of the family, the law says the existing spouse should take over. So next of kin will only be there to probably sign one or two papers where he has been made next of kin. But it's not automatic that a next of kin should or by law will inherit the person's property. So these are the issues why people just confuse next of kin for someone who is entitled to the property.
Okay, why then there's a high level of aversiveness among members of the public when these issues come up?
Like I earlier mentioned, ignorance is there. Also, we also see the fact that even in the courts and in the judicial system, in the legal profession, the jurisprudence of the law and court on issues of trust in this part of the country and Nigeria is not compared to issues of commerce, issues of constitutional law. You find little cases going to court when it comes to these things. So there's a low level of awareness and there's a low level of development of trust law, trust relationship and issues in Nigeria. Perhaps because we probably don't want other people to manage our property for us, or we feel like we have to do all that by ourselves. So that's one of the issues. We in the legal profession needs to develop that aspect of trust and then that of wills, because of our disposition to it. So this is one of the reasons. Now,
do wills and trusts come into contention?
Sir?
Do wills and trusts come into contention?
Yes, they do. They do. For example, wills, most importantly, do come into contentions in court, most especially where the beneficiaries tends to doubt the mind and the making of the will by the testator, where they try to contest the disposition of his property, that probably the man was sick, the man didn't know what he was doing, for giving this property to this man, for giving that property. So most often you see beneficiaries, dependents on such testator, contesting the will in court when such a person is no more. And for trust too, a lot of contests in court. There are so many cases where trust relationship had come to court, contested in court of law, most especially the English, under the English system. So depending on the way a trust deed is drafted, the terms of the trust deed and trust declaration are that of the will. You know, you often find in situations where beneficiaries or parties or interested parties, we want to contest these documents or this will or trust.
And now, what advice would you give to most people out there that don't actually know about this particular aspect of will and trust?
Yeah, my advice would be that we should think about the future and not about now. If you think about the future, even when you are no more, like you want to leave a legacy. And one of the foremost and most respected legal practitioner in this country of late is who I respect so much and who had given us a legacy in the legal profession to follow, and for the whole Nigerians, late Chief Gani Fawemi. I like to read his will almost every time. Till today, Nigerian Weekly Law Report is a legacy of that man. Nigerian Weekly Law Report being a firm that is established, is still ongoing, is still paying school fees for somebody, is still paying certain salaries, is still even making some donations to court. This is after years that the man is no more, courtesy of a will that he made. And everyone that is benefiting now, we keep blessing the man for making his will. Same thing for trust relationship or for trust declaration. When you do it, you relieve yourself of so many stresses. So I will advise Nigerians to think about this, especially the rich men in country, those who die out of heart attack, those who die of stress, of managing this, managing that. They can create trust relationship, allow trustees to take over, and then they take the back seat and relax.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Akin Olawale Oludaisin, public speaker and legal practitioner.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for coming to share it.
Thank you for having me. It's a privilege.
Now, moving on, Nigeria's oil output hits 5-month low at 1.48 million barrels per day. Let's take a trip to the commodities market. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has released supervisory framework for payment service banks, PSB. The framework, among other things, empowered the PSB operators to sell foreign currencies to authorized foreign exchange dealers. The CBN framework also authorized the PSBs to accept deposits from individuals and small businesses, which shall be covered by the Deposit Insurance Scheme, carry out payments and remittances, including inbound cross-border personal remittances, services through various channels within Nigeria. Operators are expected to leverage on technology to provide services that will be easily accessed by the unbanked population and those who are in hard-to-reach areas of the country. The CBN said PSBs are to operate mostly in the rural areas and unbanked locations, targeting financially excluded persons with no less than 25% financial service touch points in such rural areas as defined by the CBN from time to time. Now, the Economic Community of West Africa States, ECOWAS, has expressed concerns over the use of cryptocurrency in the sub-region, calling attention to the potential risk associated with the asset class. The ECOWAS Parliament, after a meeting of its joint committee in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso stated that there is a cause for concern with regards to the risk factors involved with cryptocurrencies. Several cryptocurrency experts and resource personnel present at the meeting. Member nations stated that the Bitcoin's decline in recent months was a reminder that cryptocurrencies are not safe haven assets. Let's take a pause to see how the Naira is faring alongside other major currencies. And now to capital market. Profit taking continues to drag down stocks in the Nigerian market, and this Friday by 1.24%. The all-share index closed at 37,994.19 points. Volume of trades 241 million. Shares value at 2.7 billion naira in 3,819 deals. Equity capitalization also dropped to 19.795 trillion naira. Global market update is next with Bosidi Abel.
Hello, it's the Global Market Review. The Delta variant COVID-19 virus has continued to be a major global concern. In Europe, the travel sector has been hit hard by COVID restrictions, but news on Thursday said that the UK is easing some of the quarantine rules and supporting the sector in early Friday trading. European stocks traded higher on Friday morning despite a global sell-off on concerns about the economic recovery. DAX topped 0.72%, FTSE 0.73% at 7,082.01, and CAC 40 topped 1.63% to 6,501.36. On Friday, shares in Asia Pacific fell on renewed COVID concerns in the region. Nikkei fell 0.63% to close 27,940.42. Shanghai Composite dipped fractionally at 0.04% to 3,524.909, while the Hang Seng Index topped 0.7% to close 27,344.54 as at its final hour of trading. U.S. stock futures were mostly higher in early trading Friday after the major indices fell on Thursday. As figures continued to come in on Friday, futures on the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 146 points. S&P 500 futures bounced by 0.2% and the Nasdaq 100 futures were slightly lower. While in Africa, stocks are mostly positive, with the Nairobi's all-share posting 0.48%. South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 was 1.67%, and Namibia's overall index topped 0.48%, while Ghana's GSE Composite has been maintaining previous figures as at Friday. Tunisia's Tunidex dipped 0.26%. That's the Global Market Review. I am Bosidi Abel.
Thank you, Boss. That wraps this edition of Business Express. Remember to keep in touch with us, so do send in your comments, observations, and suggestions. Also be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. Business Express returns Monday at 3 p.m. Be safe out there. I am Musa Abubakar. Enjoy the weekend.